Have you ever felt like this? You take one bite of cake, and before your brain even finishes processing the cream and strawberries, it's gone. But when you're standing in front of the oven, waiting for it to bake, each second feels like a year. So what's going on? Is time unfair? Does it speed up when you're happy and slow down when you're bored? Not exactly. Time is physically consistent, but to your brain, time is elastic. And when you're happy, your brain is actually cheating. Here's how. When you're excited, joyful, or deeply immersed in something, your brain releases dopamine. Dopamine doesn't just make you feel good, it also acts like an internal time accelerator. When dopamine levels rise, the pulse rate of your internal clock increases. It's like switching from a cheap 10 frames per second camera to a hyperspeed 1000 frames per second system. Now you might think, if my brain is capturing more frames, shouldn't time feel longer? That's the paradox. There's a difference between experienced time and remembered time. When you're eating cake, your attention is fully absorbed in pleasure. Your brain doesn't bother tracking the passage of time itself. It focuses only on the reward. So in the moment, time feels like it flies. And when you look back, the memory is smooth, simple, and uniform, which means it takes up very little mental storage. It feels short because there weren't many distinct markers recorded. Now compare that to boredom. When you're waiting for something, staring at the oven, watching the clock, your brain isn't stimulated. No dopamine surge. So your internal clock slows down, fewer pulses, but more attention placed on time itself. And that makes each second stretch painfully. This leads to something deeper. Your brain is extremely efficient. It only records what's valuable or novel. If you were to magically stretch 1 minute of cake eating into 1 hour, your brain would be forced to maintain high-intensity attention for that entire duration. That's exhausting, biologically unsustainable. And here's where physics enters. The second law of thermodynamics tells us that entropy always increases. Maintaining high-order, high-intensity neural activity requires enormous energy. If every joyful second were stretched infinitely, your brain would overheat. But there's an even more important consequence. Dopamine has a threshold. If you overstimulate it, your sensitivity drops. Imagine slowing your favorite song down 100 times. Instead of music, you'd hear distorted noise. Pleasure would turn into irritation. If happiness lasted too long at full intensity, it wouldn't feel like happiness anymore. It would become sensory overload. This time distortion isn't a flaw, it's evolution. When our ancestors faced danger, like a tiger charging at them, their brains released adrenaline. Time seemed to slow down, not for enjoyment, for survival. It allowed them to analyze every movement. That same mechanism activates during car accidents. Time freezes because your brain is entering high alert mode. It was never designed to make lunch feel longer. So yes, happiness often feels short, boredom feels long, but that contrast is what gives life structure. Think of life as a painting. The long, quiet, boring stretches, they're the background, the base layer, the empty space. The fast, brilliant, joyful moments, they're the colors. They flash quickly, but they define the image. And here's something beautiful. Maybe time isn't a river flowing past you. Maybe it's an ocean you're swimming through. When you're deeply happy, you enter a state of flow. You forget yourself. You forget the clock. You merge with the moment, like a drop dissolving into the sea. You don't feel time moving, because for that second, you are time. That's why joy feels fast. It's not disappearing, it's integrating. It becomes part of you. In fact, if one day eating cake feels slow and heavy, that's when you should worry, because that means you've stopped loving it. So maybe the goal isn't to slow time down. Maybe it's to create more moments worth merging into, more key frames, more color. And if one cake gives you 1 minute of high-speed eternity, well, maybe the solution isn't to stretch the minute. Maybe it's to bake another cake.